Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wavepool podcast, VP-podden. It's an English one this time, and we are very, very pleased to have some guests, one from Portugal at the moment and one from the United States of America. The special guest, Peggy. Welcome, Peggy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is another episode where we dive into the breed, the American Staffordshire Terrier. It's the most spoken breed in our podcast, at least. We have had one episode with a Staffy guy, and I actually recorded in Swedish 2 days ago an episode about the pit bull, the American pit bull terrier, of a Swedish very knowledgeable lady as well. So, but this will be, Philip, is it the third?
Is the third. The first one, it was with Thomas and Roslyn, mainly with Thomas, because it seemed the star of the podcast. And after you have made one with Card, I was not, I was sick that day, I was not present. And now we have the third, and we choose those people because Thomas was more inside the Ruffian. Card, it was more inside the Tacoma bloodline, and Madame Doster is inside the X-pert line, because it's the three bloodlines still existent in the most pure state we can find today.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome, Peggy. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and the most annoying question ever? Who are you?
Who am
Who
I?
are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Professionally, I'm a retired teacher. I've had Amstaffs since 1981, and
God,
a long time.
I was 10 years old. So yeah. And
How
I
many
feel old.
have been alive?
Yeah.
So basically, what led me to the breed was that I was living in the city of Buffalo in New York State, and I wanted a companion dog who would also protect me. So of all places, I was not a dog person at the time, although my father had boxers all the time I was a kid. I looked in the newspaper and I found an ad for an American Staffordshire Terrier, and I had no idea what that breed was. So, of all things, I look in the World Book Encyclopedia, and it said it would be a good dog for an apartment-sized space, and gave me, some basic information on the breed. So I went to look at the litter, and as it turns out, it was an expert litter that was bred by a local person by the name of Brinkworth, and there were 12 of them. And I sat on the floor and let them bombard me. And the male sat in my lap and fought off all his sisters. I went, there's my boy. That's how I got started with X-pert. They had gotten their dogs from El Amasano. And so I didn't know anything about bloodlines, but I learned as I went along. And so I got my first boy, and his paperwork was messed up. So he never was registered. And so I didn't start breeding Amstaffs until about 15 years later, when I had gotten a male from Nancy and Ed Beers in Syracuse, New York. And then a couple years later, got my foundation bitch, Sky, from a friend of theirs. And so that was my foundation stock. And so I didn't have my first litter of Amstaffs until 1996.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a long time. Once Max, passed away, then I went on and got another Amstaff. I fell in love with the breed, obviously, like a lot of other people do. I was hooked.
Yeah, it's easy to be. Yeah.
So I started doing some research, actually. Once Max was, Max was my first. All right. So I started doing some research to learn about the breed. I found out he was from the X-pert bloodline. I contacted Clifford Ormsby, and at that point he had already retired from breeding. And I said, to him that I had heard that Nancy Beers had had a litter, and he was always very understated in the way he spoke. And he said, "Oh yeah, she has some good dogs." So I went at the litter, and it took me forever because I was still in love with my first one, and it's so hard, you know, to one to replace them. You can't replace any of them.
Yeah, of course.
So that's where my foundation dog Kane came from. And he was named Expert Beers Hurricane Bob because a friend and I were on our way to Boston. And that's when Hurricane Bob came up the east coast of the United States.
Ah.
He was named for Hurricane Bob.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yep. So he was
Yeah.
my next, and I did a lot of learning on that dog, and he was a great dog. And so then I just kind of, the dog world pulled me in. You know, I started training him for puppy obedience, and they talked me into going into competition obedience. Before I knew it, I was. Nancy had said to me, "This is one of the best dogs I've ever bred." Well, there you go. I started breeding. And they were wonderful mentors. They introduced me to the Ormsbys. We used to go visit Cliff in Alberta, and they were in Hornell, New York, which, oh, let me see, that's about an hour and a half from where I live. So it was reasonable distance to go and visit them.
Yeah.
We would, you know, pack up a meal and we'd go visit, spend the day, and I learned a lot just by talking to Cliff and Alberta Ormsby, and they were truly a team. I know people talk about Cliff all the time, but Alberta was a big part of that operation.
Yeah.
So, and they like different kinds of dogs. And Alberta would say, Cliff likes a feisty dog, and then she'd giggle.
That's
So
nice.
anyway, that's how I
Yeah.
got into it. And Cliff
Yeah.
advised me from the start that if I did not want to breed myself into a corner, I should start with an outcross.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I did. My foundation bitch, Sky, was only half expert. The other half was Willenwood. And she was a beautiful girl. And she produced some beautiful puppies. My first litter was 12 puppies. The inexperienced person who had never bred a dog in her life had 12 puppies.
And madam, what was her official name? Because you talk by the Aka names, and for us it's difficult to understand which dog you are talking about. Your first bitch. What was
Oh,
the
okay.
official?
So I
Remember?
told you Kane was Expert Beers.
Yes.
Sky was bred by some people they knew not far from them, and they used the prefix Country Haven. So she was Country Haven Red Sky at Dawn, and I called her Sky.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I had to just Google Expert Bears Hurricane Bob, and it's a black dog with white socks.
yes,
Yeah,
he had white markings and he had brindle points. So
Yeah.
there was some
Brindle,
tricolor in his genetics, probably going back to what was her name, Black Susie.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
yeah,
he was
nice.
he was my first. I bred everything from him. He was a very stocky dog, and I never. His son Bruce resembled him. Bruce was let me think. Bruce, expert. He was expert, the Caped Crusader, and I used expert. Cliff wanted me to use expert, but a friend said, "Peggy, if you don't have your own prefix, you know, you'll never have your own identity."
No.
So I went with expertise, and Cliff was a little disappointed when I told him that I wasn't going to use expert. But anyway, I went my own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got over it, I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah, I guess he did.
But Peggy, your first litter, that was 96, you said?
When I had my first litter, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah.
only in the kennel prefix. Other than that, I strictly followed Cliff's advice. I started with the outcross, And his pattern of breeding was to breed in line for 3 generations. And that would bring the coefficient of inbreeding to about 30%. And then he would outcross and he would go to a foundation bloodline, Tacoma, the old line ruffian, let me think, Gallant, well, I don't know if
The California one.
Some people have no clue.
No.
At any rate, he would choose one. And actually, I heard this from Harold Card. He had asked Cliff how he chose the foundation line. He just said, well, it was their turn.
Yeah,
So,
he just rotated around. Yeah.
Exactly. So now it's more difficult to find a foundation bloodline to outcross to. So I've done what I can. And then I would select something as close to foundation as I could get. Like I would say a secondary bloodline, like Sertoma, for example, was a combination of old line ruffian and Gallant.
Yeah.
And my friend Maureen Howe bred those dogs, and they were beautiful and produced beautiful puppies. So I'm getting a little off the beaten track again.
No worries. As long as it's dogs, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can keep dogs forever, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
So I guess I was talking about
Maureen have the Tacoma dogs. She sent some to Europe, and you have mixed. We have made that outcross. Yes, it was a nice outcross, and they fixed very well.
Yeah,
together the X-pert and Tacoma.
So that's what I do, and then I go back into X-pert as close as I can get. Sometimes I do what I call an outcross within the bloodline, where I would breed to a distant relative, but still X-pert. So in that way, I've been able to preserve the X-pert line and not breed myself into a corner, as Cliff would call it. So that his advice was good, to start with an outcross and then to outcross regularly to keep, good health in line. And I have to say, X-pert is a very healthy line. I'm a health testing fanatic, and my dogs are healthy.
Yeah.
So
that's good to hear. Really good.
Yeah.
Really
What kind of health tests do you do?
Oh, anything I can do. First of all, since Embark has made an appearance through Cornell University, where they test like for 150 different genetic issues. Not all of them apply to Amstaffs, but now PRA is an issue in the breed, and ataxia became an issue in the breed. My dogs have not had a problem with either of those things. So typically I would have their eyes tested, their hearts, thyroid, hips, elbows. I've done patellas. What have I missed? Cardiac. And always, of course, for the ataxia. So I've never had a health problem come up in the testing I've done. And I find Embark's a great way. I hate to promote a particular company, but it's a great way to make choices so that you don't double up on a genetic fault. And that way, even if you wind up with a carrier, not to breed to another carrier and affected, and keep your line healthy.
Yeah.
And you are making those health tests recently, and before you didn't made it. So when you started, you have the first good results, but in the beginning, for sure, you didn't have access to all these new techniques, all these new tests. So
Correct.
When you made it for the first time, you have 100% healthy dogs.
I must have. Kane, I tested hips and elbows. I think I may have done thyroid on him. I don't even know if I did cardiac. But he was my first. And I tested for whatever I could at the time, and of course, over time, more and more health tests have become available, and I've utilized them. So I'm really happy to be able to say I don't have health issues in the X-pert line.
That's awesome.
I'm amazed. I mean, people in Sweden are test crazy, but you beat them.
Yeah, but it's
that's interesting.
it's funny because I think typically in Europe, at least, it's elbows and hips and ataxia, of course, now the last decade or so. But I don't know many European breeders, at least, that do the cardiac and the thyroid. I never heard that anyone tested for. Eyes, I've heard, someone here and there in the Amstaff, but
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
nothing
I
else.
didn't
So
know.
it's impressive. Yeah.
The cardiac for me, for example, is much more important than the hips, because they are sportive dogs. If they don't have a good heart, they can have the best hips of the world. They can have the best construction, the best elbows, but if they don't have the engine, the heart to pump on that,
No.
me, for example, I test my dogs. My foundation beach was tested. These ones, they have the embarks and all of that, but I give preferences to the cardiac and to the thyroid, to the highs, to all those genetic disease. Than the hips and the elbows, because the hips and the elbows can be a question of environment. For example, when they are puppies and they grow up, the environment when they grow up. So today there are a lot of that. People choose select by health testing, by hips and elbows and all of that. And there are many countries where that is fake. And sometimes they forget the cardiac, they forget the temperament first. It's the first rule in the breed, and it's a testimony that came since decades and decades, is the temperament. And not so many people know what is the true the temperament. And maybe Madame Doster can tell us what is she think about the true temperament, because there are many people who they don't know what is the true temperament.
Well, I have to say, X-pert has true temperament. Temperament for me is the first thing you breed for. Nobody wants a dog with bad temperament, whether you're a breeder or a pet person. So for me, the X-pert dogs, when people ask me, I say they have a stable temperament. They don't look for trouble, but if it comes their way, they don't back down from trouble. And it's like saying, okay, bring it on. I'm here and I'm ready. In my experience, once my dogs have been attacked or hurt by another dog, it changes them. And from there on in, they're always, what we say, up on their toes and ready to bring it on. So I shelter, I guess I was going to say shelter my dogs. I protect them. All right. And when I sell people puppies, I say to them, how are you going to keep your puppy safe? Because, and I explain to them how once they've been attacked, it's going to change their temperament. They're not going to be the happy-go-lucky dog puppy that I sold them in the first place. So as I was saying, it's a stable temperament. They don't look for trouble, but if trouble comes their way, they don't back down from trouble. And they're dog aggressive. I'll just be honest and say they're dog aggressive. I don't allow more than one male and one female to run together in my house at the same time. I would never consider letting two females or two males together. It would be a disaster. So that's the temperament of the X-pert dog.
And the temperament overall in the breed, it's a sound dog, it's a sound mind, soundness overall in body and everything. But it's that many people today thinks the temperament, it's kind of a show dog, that is a sweet dog only, pet dog only, or others think the temperament must be hot, the true pit bull, the true fighter. And no, it's a middle, the exact, again, like the bull and terrier, it's 50-50. In the temperament, it's the same thing. I don't know if you agree with me, but there are 50% of angel, 50% of demon, and they are there on that scale, sound and stable on their mind.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, as far as human friendliness goes, you couldn't ask for a dog that was more loving with people. They're always leaning on you, standing on your foot, looking for attention. And, they're loyal, courageous, just like the breed standard describes them.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I couldn't ask for a better dog with people. and kids. You know, they say, how are your dogs with kids? My question is, how are your kids with dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, the funny thing for the staffy person here is that everything you say, it's how a good bred staffy should be too.
But they have the same base,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
So the dogs shouldn't be that far apart, actually. And it's so nice to hear, Peggy, that you said
The same,
as the breed
the same
standard says.
genetic,
Yeah.
Well,
the same roofs. In
I'm happy that
the
the
end,
standard changed.
they are the
And
same.
Oh,
go ahead.
I think you have a little
Bad connection.
problems with the line,
Yes.
Felipe. Yeah.
It looks that way.
Yeah. But what did you say, Peggy, regarding the change of the?
We are
Well,
having
the
some
standard was really
technical.
1936, and it's never been changed since.
No.
So I think that's very important that the standard has not been changed, because I breed to the standard. My dogs are about the same height and weight they were back in 1936. I'm very aware that they don't look like the dogs that are in the show ring today. But you know, people might say to me, "Oh, you've got the small ones," and I go, "Well, no, I've got the correct ones."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's the size of your dogs at the moment? And but during all the years you've been breeding, it's been pretty much the same size.
Pretty much, I try to keep them, you know, within the standard or at least close to it. I maybe have gone with my males an inch or an inch and a half above the preferred breed height.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of dogs that I see today are well over that, maybe 4 to 6 inches taller.
Yeah.
And as far as weight goes, I have never had a dog that was 70 pounds. Um, my bigger boys, maybe 68 pounds.
Yeah.
And my girls, oh gosh, they're usually in the 50-pound range, sometimes 40, high 40s into the 50s.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're substantial dogs, but I don't want to go too into the terrier range too much. I try to match them up so that I balance that and for the moderation. But compared to what I'm seeing, my dogs are.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to see how fast the size can go up when the breeders doesn't bother to select the correct size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw that in Sweden a couple of years ago, or it's pretty much a decade ago. When I had my Amstaff boy that I had, he was like around 70 pounds, and he was maybe an inch tall regarding to the standard. But on one of his last shows where I showed him, he was the smallest adult male,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a big boy. Let's say that.
He was a big baby.
Big baby. Yeah, big baby. He wasn't so courageous, but he was a big baby. But it's not so nice when you see the size just explode, because it should be a medium-sized dog.
Right, right, and
it was the same discussion we had about staffies with Marco from Holland. About the size, because there's staffies around now that are bigger than the Amstaffs, taller than the Amstaffs. So
I've had an opportunity to judge Staffordshire Bull Terriers over the years, and I saw what you were describing. You know, I looked at them. I go, "This is a really, really big dog." And as far as my choices went, I was looking more for a Staffordshire Bull Terrier that was what I would have considered more correct as far as height and weight went. I'm sure some people weren't very happy with me because Sorry, that's the way I judge.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Well,
Not what
welcome
people
back,
like
Felipe.
best.
Now it looks better. You're
Yeah.
moving.
Peggy, we are jumping a little bit back and forward here, but did you show the dogs from the beginning, or was it just a pet?
Well, my first Max was a pet because I couldn't get him registered.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
starting with Kane, then I started showing with him.
Yeah.
Max, I was able to show him in a match, and he did take best terrier in the match I put him in. But
That's
he
nice.
was all expert. He was a good dog. He really was. It's a shame that I was never able to use him for breeding because he was a good dog. So, but then I showed myself all these years, but about 10 years ago, I was in a nasty accident and had my legs smashed. And from there on, I wasn't able to run around the show ring anymore. So now I have to use professional handlers to show my dogs.
Yeah. But you still go to the shows.
I still go to the shows. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
And you are also judge, madam, for what I understand. You are also judge.
I have a license with United Kennel Club and also with the American Kennel Club.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. And your specialty is the terriers, or it's other breeds all around?
Terriers. I never really made an effort to get a lot of breeds. I was mainly interested in judging the American Staffordshire Terrier. I was able to judge owner handled in terrier group in AKC. That's allowed. But otherwise, if I wanted to do individual breeds, I would have had to get a license to judge each separate breed. So, but as I said, I judged the Staffordshire Bull Terriers. It was a specialty, so I was allowed to judge those dogs and sweepstakes, those sorts of things I can do.
Yeah.
So,
and there are so many to study and to learn about a specific breed. I imagine the people that study so many breeds, in the end, they don't understand really the concept of each breed. It's so hard.
In UKC, you become an all-breed judge immediately, and you are able, when you're hired to judge, to find out what dogs have been pre-entered, so that you can at least study those breeds in advance. And so when you're judging UKC, pretty much you're studying constantly to, make sure that you know what you're supposed to be looking for in a breed. There's so many.
Yeah. Nice.
Maybe a good thing. Maybe a good thing, because if they don't have that advanced knowledge about the breed before, and they strictly read the standard, then maybe two big dogs, two small dogs will not be winning stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. In that regard, it's maybe not a really bad idea, at least.
yeah, it is. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
We have that problem with the old bloodlines. We are talking with bloodlines like X-pert, the old Ruffian, like you have called it yourself, madam, the Tacoma and so on. They are standard dogs, and today we are having that problem since 20 years, 30 years, that the judges and the people are used to see big dogs out of standard. And when they see these typical dogs, these old bloodline dogs, they say they are little, they are weak, they are not the kind of bull mastiff type or boxer type they are used to see. What do you think about
that when you were out? How big the dogs gotten compared to the standard, and it's crazy.
It's not a new thing. I remember back in the 90s when I was showing, we would have these discussions amongst us competitors about size of the dogs, and they say the argument was this as well. It only says preferred; it doesn't say exact, and then they use that as an excuse to breed to what they like rather than as close to the breed standard as possible. And so it's over the years, I think it's changed the breed. You know,
but
what I have
but I
is
think but I think the US has fucked up a lot of breeds when it comes to size and stuff. Before I had Staffies, I had Dobermans for 15 years, and I mean they had giant Dobermans in the US and stuff like that. So yeah, um, bigger ain't always a good thing. So yeah,
No, that's
so,
true.
so yeah,
But Peggy,
so
you said that you've seen this during all your years in the breed, and that's maybe in my mind at least one of the negative parts with the breed standard, that it hasn't been changed since 1936. It's that it says preferred size.
mhm.
Yeah, but
So
there.
they didn't say exact, and then they could be measured out.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But there are I've seen a old, it's not that old actually, but in some sense it's, I'm not sure where it is from, but it's a illustrated guide for the breed standard from, I think it's from the AKC.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, in that it's pretty clear
Mhm.
what is the preferred type of dog.
I think you're referring to something that the Staffordshire Terrier Club of America put together with
Yeah.
drawings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's helpful. I'm not sure if the judges see that. Well, I think they do in breed education.
Yeah.
I've never been present at one of those seminars, so I really don't know what they tell the judges or show them in those sessions.
Okay. Yeah.
I send a lot of those studies to many judges, and they never have seen that because we have been really. And here in Portugal, that happens. That in Switzerland, that happens. That, and they didn't know the existence of that study. And even on that study, there are a part talks about the terrier type, the moderate type, and the bunny type.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not specified that what we want, it's not the bunny type, neither the terrier type. Again, it's the balance of both.
Right.
It's the moderate type we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And many judges don't see that. And
Yeah.
today they are pricing dogs, like I told before, it's since 20, 30 years. You showed since the 90s, so it's around 30 years. Because until the 70s, it was different. And these last years, after the pass of the century, came worse and worse and worse. We see champions with 40 kilos. It's the double of the size. Bitches with 30 kilos. My male have 25 kilos. When they see them, they say you have a female body. But no, it's the male. A male with 40 kilos, he lost the agility, he lost the capacity of endurance. There are a lot of things in that plays with the size and the weight of the dogs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when the clubs, for example, the STCA, the Staffordshire American Club, and all the clubs, I think they should be the first ones to show that to the judges and made that work in the shows and everything, and try to teach people how American stuff should be.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I
Agree.
people, as I was saying earlier, I think people think what I'm breeding is more terrier, but when I look at the pictures that I have from Cliff Ormsby, my dogs look like the dogs from 1930s. And I'm thinking, when they said moderate, I think this is what I have is moderate.
Exactly.
You know, they're not like whippets, so I don't think they're really terrier type. Um, but I get some dogs that are stockier than others. They're a little more on the bully side. But like I said, I try to balance it when I do my breedings so that I'm not overdoing it in one direction or the other.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you never know what the mix of the genes give you, but you can still, after this many years with the same bloodline, I'm quite sure that you can pretty much see what will come when you do a breeding.
It's really hard to say. My last litter, I did an outcross to a Tacoma White Rock male, and I was totally shocked when every single last puppy was seal and white, every last one of them. And
Wow.
matter of fact, I was sending a puppy home to a pet home, and we had them out in the sunlight. And he looks at the dog and he says, "This dog's a brindle." I went, "Brindle?" And we took another look. I went, "Sure enough, he's a seal brindle." But he didn't look like the Ormsby type as far as color went. So that was a big surprise to me. Every one of those puppies took after their daddy. So it's a little difficult to know what you're going to get well, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm not a color geneticist the way Barry Card is. That man is amazing. But I generally, with X-pert, I get brindles, a lot of
Yeah.
brindles. And I love it. I love the brindles. I think it's a genetically strong, geez, the word's not coming to me.
Color. Yeah.
Characteristic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
But in the genetics, when you know all that the lines that you breed since generations and generations, more or less, you arrive to control the size of the teeth, the top line, the tail. More or less, when you choose the characteristics of the parents combination, like we call it, you choose it not only for color. There are other parameters involved on that.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
And again, I'll go to this last litter. I had actually it's Toby, who is now living with Barry Card. She had a really nice stocky body. I loved her body. There were a couple of things about her that I didn't want to keep. So, but he was happy with her, loved her pedigree and so on. But her sister, who I did keep, and I'm calling her Nikki, um, she didn't have that as stocky a body as her sister did. So you get those variations within a litter, and you select for what you need. Um, and that's when I breed. I breed when I need something. So at this point, I'm reaching the end of my breeding career because I'm getting too old, and I don't want my dogs to live longer than I do.
No.
I have to
So,
ask, how many litters have you had?
11 successfully. There have been a few breedings I've done that haven't taken. This last one was a disappointment. I had bred to the last of Cain's semen, and it didn't take. Um, I think maybe what happened is, first of all, I didn't collect Cain until he was 10 years old, and it was only 30% modal. But secondly, Aria is a hard one to catch. She comes in and out fast. And I think we may have missed the best day for the breeding. And that maybe was the reason why we didn't get puppies from that breeding. But I'm going to try again on her next season. And this time, I'm going to use Bruce's frozen semen. I figure I've got all these boys frozen. I may as well use their semen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting because Harold Card, he said the same. He talked about a couple of females he had that came into season very fast, and sometimes he didn't even notice that they
Right.
were in season. Is this something that's normal with these old bloodlines, or is it just
No,
a coincidence?
it depends on the bitch.
Yeah.
Aria, I missed her. I tried breeding her the first time, and I was off by more than a week and trying to get her bred. So I thought, okay, well, she comes in faster than expected. So the second time, which was this last litter, we were very careful about watching her and testing her progesterone, and we got the litter, a litter of 9 puppies. And so then this just recently in the last few weeks, I tried again. But when I realized she was actually in season, her progesterone level was already over 14, and my reproductive vet said, get her here tomorrow. But I think we were already too late.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it didn't take. So one more time around, I'm going to have to watch her like a hawk. And I'll tell you, the minute my boy Bravo starts sniffing around her,
that's a good indicator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can show us really clear when it's time. Yeah, the boys they
Like
know.
time. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah, and it's yeah, it's
You have made.
Yeah. Go.
Sorry, Kato. You have made some other things with the dogs instead of only shows. You have sporting them. You have made other disciplines, other.
Oh, well, over the years, I've put them in what we call companion events, which would be obedience and performance events, such as rally obedience. Um, I would do more with them, but I'm unable to run. I have partial neuropathy in both my legs because of that accident I was in. So I do what I can with them, but I always train my puppies. I always get them to puppy classes so that they've got some basic obedience training.
Yeah.
And I require it of the people who take my dogs that they get them to puppy classes. I think it's really important, not just for learning commands, but also for bonding with your puppy and for them to be socialized properly with other dogs. So
And they imprinting them and all that little steps they should have. I'm going to profit to ask you which age you send the puppy for the new owners, because they're in America you send them, for me personally, too soon, 8 weeks old.
Mhm.
And I prefer. I'm not an expert. I'm nobody in the breed, but I study since 35 years. And what I notice and the experience I have since before, because I already have boxers before and all that, and I only send my puppies with 12 weeks old. And sometimes the 4 liters I only made 4 liters in my life. And each time there are owners that say, no, I want my puppy at 8 weeks old. And I say, no, I only send when they have 12. If you want it, you want it. If you don't want it, pass or search away, because I want to be sure that I give that classes, I give that socialization, I give that imprinting. And what you think about that? How long you send them, and what you think about the difference of 8 weeks to 12 weeks?
Okay. Well, I'll admit I send my puppies to their homes at 8 weeks. If, I have, sometimes it's very difficult. Lately, it's been difficult to find homes for American Staffordshire Terriers. And I've heard this from breeders of other breeds as well. It's just not been a good market. At any rate, so I generally will send them out at 8 weeks. At that point, they've had all their basic immunization shots. They've been wormed. They've been weaned from their mom for 4 weeks already. Once they start getting their teeth, my girls say, I'm out of here. I don't want to have anything more to do with you guys. So they've been weaned. I feed a raw diet, so they've never had kibble. My puppies are eating raw, and they have been crate trained at that point. So they're pretty ready to be going to a new home. I did at one point keep them for 12 weeks, and I went, this is way too much trouble.
It's the difficult part. Yeah.
So, like I said, recently it was difficult to find homes. So I had puppies from this last litter, 12 weeks and more. So, it's more important for me to find the right home for the puppy rather than just to get rid of them. I'm pretty careful about who I will send puppy to.
Yeah. It's the second selection, like I comfort with. First we have to select the puppies and the parents, and after we have to select the owners, because this kind of Amstaff, it's not a regular Amstaff for all males. Again, they are hard to handle, like they should be, and not for inexperienced hands. I understand you so well.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
sorry. Now the staffy guy is trying to get in again. I've listened to you for almost 50 minutes now, Peggy, and you sound, excuse me, for like an older version of my breeder in the staffy world.
oh,
She's crazy about tests.
Yeah.
The puppy on the kennel is the staffies are of the sportier type, and she's trying to find owners that do things with the dogs, and like you said, it's harder to get families for that kind of dogs, and especially after the pandemic. Pandemic did fuck up the whole dog world big time. So
it's true.
yeah, so it's fascinating to listen to you. Really, flabbergasted.
Yeah, is it so that after the pandemic, Peggy, that you was it then that it was harder to get homes for them, or has this been it was
I didn't breed during the pandemic, and
No.
I can't tell you how many puppies I could have sold to people.
Yeah.
Everybody was not at work; they
Yeah.
were living at home and working from home, and everybody wanted a puppy. And so after that, then everybody was going back to work, and they didn't want their puppy anymore. And we had a lot of
Yeah.
dogs going into rescue, SPCA, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I was real happy that I didn't breed during that time. But then afterwards, all the possible homes were already taken. You know, they
Yeah.
already had dogs, those that were going to keep them. And so it was more and more difficult to find people. And I'm really particular about who I will let one of my dogs go to. I want it to be the right home the first time. I'll take a dog back for any reason at any time, but I don't want to have to do that. I want them to be in a forever home.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
That's a reasonable goal to have. Yeah.
I have some things to show you. I was told that people go crazy for antiquities.
Yeah, of course.
So I
Wow.
grabbed a couple
Yeah.
of things that I thought might be easy to show. All right.
Yeah,
Here
nice. Oh,
is a trophy that Alberta Ormsby won in Chicago in 1949, and it's for
Wow.
best of opposite sex.
And which dog it was?
Oh,
You
Lord.
remember?
No. I think Biff got best of breed. Let me think. I think this went to one of the bitches. I can't remember right now who it was. But Sarah Foster was given the best of breed trophy that looked like this one.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So this I keep in my living room at all times, but I thought this would draw some interest. It's kind of hard to get it all in the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
That exists no more, that those kind of trophies. It's
No.
finished.
You get a cheap ribbon and
Yeah.
congratulations.
And big war for that cheap ribbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen in the States, you pretty much, it's not even here in Europe, or at least in Sweden, it's like a rosette with a couple of ribbons.
Yes.
Yeah.
But over there, you get just one ribbon, pretty much.
For class stuff,
Yeah,
for the
okay.
specialties, you'll see more of those rosettes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. You know what
And
this is?
this looks really interesting.
That is the Heritage, Ormsby Heritage for sure also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
These are Cliff's journals.
Wow.
Wow, that is precious, precious, precious.
And he would make remarks.
Precious, precious.
Wow.
Let me see. So that was his first breeding in 1932. So he
Oh
started
my
out with
God.
UKC American Pit Bull Terriers. Let me see. I'll go to 1936.
I mean, that's like 7 years before the Second World War.
Yeah, yeah.
And the standard for the Staffy came in 35 and the Amstaff in 36. So
Yeah. Yeah, this is
that was something.
Wow.
And this is
This was his first Amstaff litter.
Okay.
Wow.
Excuse me for being asking really, but
Nice.
this is historical stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It can't be lost.
No,
No.
that is patrimony. That is patrimony.
Well-
It's really, and I'm not an Amstaff person, but that's Amstaff history, and it can't be lost.
Yeah.
No.
I'm thinking the American Kennel Club has a Museum of the Dog in Manhattan, New York City.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm thinking maybe the best place to put these things that I have from Cliff would be with their library at the Museum of the Dog. I think about, well, who am I going to leave these things to? Because I have boxes and boxes full of stuff that I got from Dorothy Ormsby when both Cliff and Alberta passed away. And I thought, who can I trust with these things?
When did they pass away, if I can ask?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Your voice is kind of
When
quiet.
the Ormsbys pass away, if I can ask.
When?
The year,
Yeah.
the year.
Oh, let me think.
Ballpark.
87, I think, Madame Alberta.
Okay.
No, not that far back. Because I used to take every litter I bred to them for their evaluation. So they were still with me past that. So they had to be alive into the early 2000s.
Ah, okay. Okay. I was thinking it was more soon. Okay.
No, they were 90 something when they passed away. First Cliff passed away.
Or 97 maybe. I said 87, maybe
Yeah,
97.
that
Okay,
sounds
maybe
more like
97.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cliff passed away first.
So their active span was from the 30s to
Yes.
the 90s, more or less. That's that's nuts, and you have everything that documents that more or less. And I'm just excuse me, fucking amazed. That's something we send shit in this podcast.
You're going to change breed, Tobe. You're going to change
exactly.
No. I was on the
Wow.
way.
This is amazing. Yeah.
This is the last stud dog he has listed is Sligo McCarthy.
Wow.
Okay. That after when we have the true video, when it's online, I'm going to stop it, make print screens and study all that.
People tell me I should write a book.
And now for Mr. Felipe in Portugal. This Swede was on his way to steal an Amstaff about 12 years ago. It was a ruffian from Spain. And the owner, had things going on in her personal life. The fun thing, he had the biggest ears I ever seen on Amstaff, straight up. And the funny thing, he was called Cato. So that's. And the owner was like, Tobbe, can you take him over and so on? And I said, you will regret it in a couple of months. That's So I said, but you can send him down. I can have him here for some time. So I had a thing was I had taken over my first staffy just 3 months earlier or something like that. So I had this Amstaff home for almost two months the first time. I love that fucking dog, and I still miss him. And I had him down one more time, and it was a fabulous dog. Johan knows him very well too. He was very, very special. So I was close to getting an Amstaff, and and later on I was close to get another ruffian dog. From you know the kennel, Johan. I remember I lost it again, Austria.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I can't.
Charlie Ronga. Charlie
What?
Ronga. Charlie
No,
Ronga.
No, not
no.
Charlie. A
Yeah,
female.
I can't remember. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't fancy those dogs. I didn't
No.
put the names
Freaking,
in the memory bank. Yeah,
freaking me out. Freddie was a friend who had
yeah,
him, and that's probably the most balanced Amstaff I've ever met. He was a really good waitful dog. He was crazy good at dog. Yeah, some yeah. I regret I didn't take any of those two boys. Yeah, so.
You have had in your history in Sweden, you have had great dogs, great imports, but
Yeah.
the work of selection was always really bad, and everything was diluted and lost it. But you have had great dogs always
Yeah,
since
yeah.
30, 40 years.
That girl is a friend of me and Johan, and she trains
Yeah.
with me right now. She's back, and she has Great Danes now. So, but she had from Charlie Rolla, and she
It's
had
Manuela
from Johan.
Boychev. Manuela Boychev.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he was from Manuela, and she had from Ioannidis too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the three places she had dogs from. So, and she
Yeah.
was on the ruffian train.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Freddie was for not being a staffy, he was my dream dog, and I loved him.
You really
And I
liked him.
love, yeah, and I'm both when it comes to Amstaffs and Staffies, I'm like you said, Peggy. I want something in between. The bully type and the terrier type. I want the perfect mix in the middle. And the male I have now, I feel, is that. So yeah. So it's very interesting to hear you, Peggy. And the historical stuff you showed me now is like,
It's
wow.
it's
I'm a history idiot in general,
Yeah.
but I never see dog history, and you showing that. Yeah, thank you. Now
You-
I'm.
I think I should publish his journals.
Yeah. It would. Yeah. To get those journals into a museum would be amazing, but to get them digitalized so people could enjoy them would be amazing. As Felipe said, I think people will. I will, when I edit this afterwards, I will zoom in on your what you show those journals. So and I'm sure people will take screenshots to read them really good, or at least pause the video. Yeah.
And this is me. This is me who ain't in the breed. But if you would digitalize some of that, we have this Amstaff group in Sweden. They interviewed me at the show, and we are planning, we have planned for a year to get them on the show. And they are doing a really good job for Amstaff in Sweden, and I think those people would die to see those things, frankly.
It's amazing. I didn't even realize those existed, Peggy. And
They do. I've also done some interviews of Cliff in Alberta. I need to some of it I did transcribe, and it was published in the STCA magazine a number of years ago. But I have other interviews that I've done with, say, Barbara Hambleton that I've never gotten into print. So, people go, "You got to write a book. You got to write a book."
Yeah.
It's what
now we know. And now we know why you were a teacher.
Yeah.
It's what I say to Thomas Mount, to Sir Thomas Mount, and what I say to Barry, like you call it. I'm not so proud of him to call him Barry. I call him Mr. Card. But it's what I say. You are the last generations of old people having this preserved your own breed, because it's the grand old breed. It's the all American dog, like you yourself call it. So all of you should pass that to a book or two books.
Yeah.
Mr. Mount, he have a dog from me. We talk since almost 20 years with Rosalind also. I learned a lot, card also. But what they pass it to me in private, I think will help a lot the breed and see the public overall to see the breed differently and see the true breed. So it's an idea for you when you have a little time, start writing a book, start writing, compose something around that because it's precious. All that information, all that heritage you have at home, it's really precious.
Well, I've got photographs. I've got Cliff used to clip every from bloodlines and dog news and that sort of thing. He would clip any article that had to do with an American Staffordshire Terrier, and I've got boxes filled with these articles.
Wow.
And when he wrote letters, this is in the days when people actually wrote letters, he kept a carbon copy. So I have copies of letters he's written to people.
Wow.
That is great.
Yeah.
So
you should.
Precious, it really is. And I just don't know how to deal with this, but it would be more than one book, let me tell you that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
You already read the Wendy Brown books or Richard Pascoe books?
Have I read them? Yes.
Yes. So you have the base majority because the history of the breed, it's more or else well known, but it's that the important part they put inside. It's the pedigree since the beginning, the line breedings. It's that part that it's interesting for people that have interest to preserve the patrimony and everything, because dilute is very easy, but keep the purest. We were talking about the ruffian before today. It came as a brand, and even to use the many people don't know this. The ruffian are really a brand, not the ruffian bloodline, but the name ruffian. If I want to put in a T-shirt ruffian old bloodline, for example, or ruffian Amstaff, it's patented as a brand. Many people don't. Yeah, wow. Unfortunately. And that comes commercial, because you call it yourself in the beginning of the podcast, the old ruffian. And today it's what they call the modern ruffian. And in the end, yes, they have genetics. The genetics is there, but the characteristics, the traits, the capacities, that soundness overall, they are ruffians, but in the end, they are not the old ruffians. That the old question about the pure ruffian, the purest of pure ruffian, and so on. And the same is passing with the Tacoma, going to soon, there are no more Tacoma, and soon we're going to lost also the X-pert. So that heritage.
Enough. But when I got into it, my whole objective was to preserve the X-pert line. I'm a preservation breeder, I guess you would call me. And I really had no interest in preserving any other bloodlines. This was my goal when I got into dogs. And I have to tell you, I have all the original pedigrees from Cliff and all his dogs.
Wow.
That is
it's precious.
You have a gold mine. Yeah, a gold mine. Yeah.
But I was just going to say, I made the purchase from Dorothy, but I could never pay her enough to really show the true value of everything that she passed on to me.
And she's still alive. She's still alive, Madame Dorothy.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah, we have a group. Maybe Kato don't know, because I see Kato is interested guy. There are a group of expert people. It's a little group where we are inside, and Madame Dorothy is inside, the doctor of the army.
Right, yeah.
Inside, and it's funny to be inside these groups, because it's a niche, it's a strict groups, and we learn a lot. There are not so many traffic like other groups, but what is inside, like the Tacoma group and so on, it's valuable, precious, and the comments and everything, we always learn something else more, and listening from your mouth, coming from you, the elders, it's even more interesting.
Well, I have to thank the Europeans too for the part that they do to preserve the breed. I'll tell you, if it weren't for the having sent a puppy to Ralph Teidinger, and having worked with Roberto Moncalvo pageants, I would have been stuck without any way to go as far as breeding goes. I'll tell you, Roberto did a lot for me. He took one of his bitches, drove her up to Germany, bred her to Despero, who was the offspring of a dog I sent over, and he saved me. I took two bitches from him because something told me that you never know that maybe she can't reproduce, so I'll take two.
He saved the line. He saved the line. His program have 15 years. We talk since his beginnings. In the beginning, I didn't understood because he start making the puzzle with the little percents of dogs and what this guy is trying to do. And after a long of the time, I understood. And today we have with you and with the heritage he left it. Roberto Moncalvo, I don't know if you know who is it, Kato. It's a guy from France. He just entered. He's the best genetician I know in 35 years. Because he breeds since birds, cats, everything he touched, he going to bring from scratch, and he made the purest thing you can imagine. And with the expert line, he put in mind it was a 15 years program, and in the end of 15 years, he sent two bitches, Dorothy, and the other it was Madam.
Named her for me, Peggy.
Peggy. Yeah, it's that. Peggy and Dorothy, sorry. And he sent two beaches to two nice Brindle beaches, of course, with some defaults because there are not the perfect dogs. But it was like Madam Peggy says, she was stuck in a corner without the Pung genetic. And Roberto Moncalvo, it's a name that should be remembered in the history of the breed because he made a great work putting together all that puzzle. And today we can thank him. And I'm always sending message when he puts a little like here or a heart there. I say, it's now you came back. No. You can, soon you're going to come back. No. But I didn't lost the hope he came back one of these days. And maybe he try with the comb or the Ruffian or whatever he likes it. It's nice you talk about him. It's really nice you talk about him. It's a good point.
You credit where it's due.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
To all of this, it's little about the reason we started the podcast, because there was nothing documented about the weight pull at all in Sweden or in Europe really. So that's why we started the podcast. So this thing, we're bad at documenting stuff and showing stuff and leaving stuff for younger generations. We really are. So
just look at Cliff's journals, how detailed they were and how organized they were.
I think electronics has been the downfall of historic records. It really has, because you get rid of an old computer and everything can go with it, and you don't have the hard copies, the documentation that I have here. And I try to keep good records, but believe me, they're nothing as beautiful as what Cliff kept.
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah.
So I still have prints of things that have 25, 30 years that I print at the time in the printer, a normal printer. I still keeping religiously safe somewhere. Now, for example, I was living in Sweden. There are things that are going to arrive soon, and I'm praying they arrive safe and well here at home, because I have some heritage also. You are saying the electronics help. We lost a lot of things. Yes, it's true. But at the same time, if you are a passionate person and you divide it, you don't put everything I learned in the hard way, because one of my hard disks was broken. And almost 10 years after, I find someone that arrived to took 92% of what was inside. 20 years of research and everything. And after I arrived, instead of put everything in one place, I put in several places. So if Now one of the hard disks broken. I have the second, I have the third, but I have all that compilation of information, and that complements the part of paper, prints, books, and but I'm old school on that also. For me, it's the paper and reading by myself. It's much better than look to the screen. And today there are so much fake news, so much counter information and everything that people get lost very easy. People today, they want it quickly, they want it easy, and they go, when they choose, I see the new generation of breeders, they have 3-4 years and they already know everything, and they know they have all the informations. You try to tell them, and when they select with what we call the champion fever, the show fever, or the cannon fever. The parents have a lot of prizes, so it's this one I'm going to take, and this is the best.
Yeah.
Or it came from this cannon, specific cannon, famous cannon, and I'm going to take from there, and I have the best. And if it was so easy like that, everybody do it, and it's not so easy like that.
I gave a talk, and it started referring to the foundation bloodlines, and nobody knew what I was talking about. I couldn't believe it. They did not know their foundation bloodlines of the breed.
Madam, when I'm talking with breeders, recently I talked with a breeder that starts 4 years ago, and he already changed 2 or 3 times the dogs. Already, he start with foundation, see it was not good, he learn a little bit, give the dogs away, bring new dogs, and he's changing. And last time I said, why you made that breeding? I'm trying to teaching, but I'm going to stop because you are not listening. I'm losing my time, even for more passion I have or more I want to help him and others. They don't listen, so I don't going to lose my time. And I ask him, you know what the grandfather of your male, for example, passed, which color it was? They don't know the color of the 3rd generation. They don't know if have defaults, if have what kind of defaults and virtues pass. They don't study that because it's that came sprinting in the genetics in the end.
And for some people, a bloodline is breeding to the same stud dog 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
No, that's not a bloodline.
They buy a stud dog, and the same stud dog goes to all the beaches they have. And
now we have a bloodline.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's I know, at least here in Sweden, it's the thing is to outcross all the time, and I think that's been really detrimental, at least overall for the breeds, all breeds pretty much in Sweden, but especially in the Amstaff, and they don't know what they are breeding at all. So I think that you can't go too tight. We have been shown that especially from Great Britain, a lot of German Shepherds, especially we've seen throughout the years that's gone too tight. But otherwise, the line breeding it's the best tool to preserve the breed as well. And I like to hear, your strategy. Yeah, I'm lost for words here. I thought you said every 3rd breeding or something like that. You outcrossed
about every 3 to 5 generations.
Yeah,
which comes to about 30% on COI.
Yeah, but you still choose one of the old, as long as you could, one of the old
I try to go back as close to a foundation line as I can get,
Yeah.
And as I said, I call them secondary lines, where somebody's taken 2 foundation lines and created a Sertoma or whatever has come from that.
Yeah.
In Europe, we call it sublines. You call it secondary lines, we call it sublines. For example, White Rock, many people think is a bloodline, and it's not a bloodline, it's a subline. It's a secondary line.
Yeah.
He made his job, he made his line breeding, he made a great work, Mr. Pasco, but it's not the X-pert, it's not the Ruffin, it's not the Tacoma, it's not the Gallant, it's not the Sertoma or California. It's a subline because he used all the lines to make his own line. and
Mm-hmm.
it's that the difference. Yeah. And I learned with I learned before, but Madame Doster, now you talk about that, Kato. Madame Doster told me one day, just keep them line bred. I remember those words until today. Just keep them line bred. And I have at home a Ruffian. My litters was mainly Ruffian, the old Ruffian, the one that still exists. But I took again thinking on that work of Ormsby and others like Bill Patterson and so on. That's why I took the other beach I have, Betty, with Tacoma and White Rock, old Tacoma mixed with White Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So she to be that balance, that bridge to fix the ruffian how it should be, because otherwise there are dark genius coming popping up, and the genetic pool also, like in X-pert or like in Tacoma, it's so
Mm-hmm.
limited, it's so closed. I see today people saying I have a roofing, yeah, but you are in a finish stop, because there are no more where to go, or they made an outcross because they inbreed so much the same dog just to keep it ruffian, pure
Mm-hmm.
ruffian, that it's impossible for them, or they made an outcross direct, or they're going to have, we already see that arriving and appearing with the passage of the months and the years, some defaults that after it's very difficult to getting out, like of this, for example, or scorpion tails or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a great technique, a own technique. The elders use it.
Well,
It was
you don't know what you're going to bring in with that outcross. There's other genetics now that come into play, and you're not always aware of how it's going to affect your breeding.
Oh,
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's an important thing to consider as well.
But always choosing inside that old bloodlines to have the same type, the same size, the same temperament, the same traits of
Mhm.
personality, whatever, because made outcross with modern show dogs, like we call it, it's
Mhm.
the same that we put dilute wine, good wine with water. We're going to a good bottle of wine, like Tobe are going to use his words now. We're going to fuck up the good wine. If
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
water
Felipe, your this with people after 3-4 years being experts. I almost laughed so hard so I couldn't piss. Excuse me, my words. But uh, I have a weight group here in this town, and I've had for almost 15 years. And me and Kato have talked a lot about this. It's like people in Wakepool who you help, etc. When they get on the track and do their first show, after that, I would say 50% thinks they know everything, don't want to listen anymore. Yeah. So your words about um, uh, uh, Amstaff people after 3-4 years being experts in breeding, and yeah, yeah, I can understand the frustration from a guy like you.
yeah.
Really. Um, yeah. And
It's called
also,
the Danny Kruger effect.
Yeah.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
one of the best graphs in the world.
I
The more you know, the more you think you don't know, and you less you know, the more you think you know. And it's
It's you
yeah,
that put doubts on you. Sometimes it's you
yeah.
that start saying for yourself, but maybe it's me, I'm wrong. What is happening here?
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna send a thing. I'm gonna send a thing to you both later.
Yeah,
I had to save a thing from Twitter/X about the Donald Trump some X Factor. Yeah, I will send it to you. It's called
yeah,
Trump's
nice.
Edge or something like that. Yeah, that's crazy. And also, um, all this about the old bloodlines and yeah, so on. I would say um, I remember like it was before the pandemic, maybe 3 or 4 years before that. We had 100 fucking breeders in Sweden that had Amstaff as their specialty. And I would say that 95 to 98% of them don't know the shit you guys are talking about.
No.
Observations.
Oh no.
Just observations.
Yeah, but that was when I was most active in the breed here in Sweden. It was in the peak of the breed in Sweden, and as you said, Toby, it was a lot of breeders, and it was so easy to make money to sell puppies, because at that time a puppy was 15,000 Swedish crowns. So that's $1,500, I think, Peggy, and it's
about
and somewhere around 10 to 12 puppies a litter.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people thought they were gonna make a lot of money, and they did. Some people actually did a short while, but they realized that if you're gonna breed for a long time, you're not gonna be a millionaire.
No.
They came and go. They came and go. You lost money. You lost money, madam. In the end, we lost money if we want to keep this. I don't want money with the dogs. If I put on the scale, I'm really low, negative comparing with I invest on among these 35 years.
After litter after litter after litter in order to make any money on dogs. You know, if you're going to do health testing and you figure in your food bills, your vet bills, your kennel maintenance, and all these other expenses, show expenses, there's no way to make money on a litter of puppies.
And some made it's not only for the money, some made also for the ego, for the status, to be prized, to have a champion dog. They don't need the money; they have money by themselves, by their private life, and they breed just for that status, for that ego. And when I tell to people the difference between these dogs from old bloodlines and these new modern Amstaffs that starts in the 80s, 90s, it's amazing, because I see by my dogs, they pass all day playing, and one puppy, modern puppy, comes with all kind of background, champion dogs, this and that, 5 minutes and they are down. They don't arrive. They have to breathe, they have to stop, they have to lay down, and my dogs, they can stay 4, 5, 6 hours all day hunting all day, and you don't broke them. And these dogs, it's what I say, I give you 9 in advance to finish in 10, and I won. I'm going to make the 10. You have 9, you just have to make one more to win, and I'm going to win you in the end. My dog's going to win you. And it's that happens. The people think, you are too extreme, you only see the old bloodlines. It's not that, because when I start with the dogs, I start with 3 dogs. I start with one female from France that was descendant from champion shows. I buy what I call the commercial bloodlines, the ones very well know. I don't going to mention names because it's personal names. I prefer don't touch links. And the old bloodlines. And I made all the tests with them, with wild boars, running with the motorbike, 10 miles and so on. And I can tell you, for example, when I made the test with the 10 miles running, the old bloodline, it was a Dallas doctor, the famous Dallas doctor. She arrived, the second one, the commercial one, arrived 10 minutes after, and the other, the show one, arrived 45 minutes after. In 10 miles, so big difference. And the old bloodline arrived and drink water and look at me and ask for more. The other rest 2-3 minutes and ask for more, and the show dog, she was finished. So it's there. I have the proof, because one defended this, the other one defended that, and I have to see by myself which one was the true thing that I wanted. And I want an active dog, I want a sportive dog, and the Amstaff should be that, a healthy dog and a sportive dog, a all-around dog that needs everything you ask to them, to lay down in the couch with you like a cat, like I said, or go hunting with you, or protecting your house, making the watchdog, whatever. And I have that experience before start breeding. I have the 3 different dogs at home, and I test them in everything, and I see it's huge, the difference. They are guys from weight pump, for example. I am sure if they have one of these dogs in the hands, they're going to make the double of the results they made with the commercial dogs.
Yeah, regarding that, actually, because the breed has a history of performance selection when we go really long back, and we have lost that by at least that type of selection, and I think that's one of the reasons the show has been so prominent in selecting for many breeders. But what do you think about performance, Peggy, when it comes to selecting the dogs? Is it just the mentality that you go for, or is it anything else?
Are we talking about dog fighting?
Yeah. For the
Yes and no,
the
yes and no.
history, the
Right.
history, but of course we don't select by dog fighting anymore.
Sure.
We stopped that for
But
All
for
right.
weight pung,
Yeah.
for long claims, today there are other sports that you can test
obedience
your
or
dogs.
anything else.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm not a supporter of fighting dogs,
No.
but that
Amen.
said, we have the breed that we have because of that. You know,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
have dogs that are truly human friendly because nobody tolerated a dog that would attack a human being at that time.
And that's what
Yes.
Lost your voice.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of temperament I look for. I mean, I told you my dogs are dog aggressive. You know, they're socialized. I can take them out in public. They don't start any trouble, but they will get into it if they have half a chance. So I have to be very careful how I manage. This is what I call manage my dogs at home to make sure that we don't have that experience.
Yeah.
yeah.
On the other hand, it is a breed that was bred to do any task you put to it. And my dogs have always, no matter what I've asked them to do, have been more than willing to please me and do. They're smart, they're intelligent, they learn fast. Once they learn it, they don't forget it. So you could pretty much ask them to do any dog sport that you wanted to, and that's what I like to see. I hate it when I've seen dogs crawling on their bellies into a conformation ring. That's not our breed.
No.
You
Exactly.
know, and that's fear.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a fearful dog, because you can be sure that they're going to be human aggressive at some point in time.
Exactly.
That's the crap we've been talking about, Johan, about Whistle. And
Scare dogs aren't any breed or any a scary dog is potentially a dangerous dog.
More dangerous than the aggressive dog.
Yeah.
But the question of Katu, madam, it was in question of endurance, in performance. If you're going to sport your dogs, making speed, what you call the cat.
Fast
now
cat?
I forgot. Yeah, so fast cat, for example, how they should be. They should be the true athletes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to get my dogs involved in that. My kennel club sponsors fast cat events, but again, I'm physically limited myself, and kind of limits what I can do with my dogs.
Fast cat. Did you say that?
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of dog? What kind of event is that?
Oh, CAT stands for Coursing Aptitude Test, and so it's one dog at a time. You have a like a corridor on a grassy area that's fenced off, so the dog can only go straight ahead. There is a device with like a white plastic bag, let's say, attached to it, that travels this course, goes straight up the course. The dog chases it, and they time the dog to see how fast they are in getting to the end of the course. So it's become an event and a title.
Yeah, nice.
Dogs love
kind of Yeah, kind of a greyhound racing, but one dog at a time and just a straight
Exactly.
line. Yeah.
And in Sweden, Tobe, for example, we were talking about the fast cat. I tried that cat after I can send you where we were near Gothenburg. My dad, we tried that with our dogs. Once again, we tried that. And in Sweden, you have a very good thing. You have the temperament tests. You have two different temperament tests to certify that the dog have the true temperament and support depression and support the fear and support on that. And is one of the only countries that I see that. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube and everything where you can see that really, really well.
Yeah, I had to Google fast cat, and it looks nice. Yeah. I like also the old stuff with books and physical, but I'm a tech guy, so I really like to check out
You
everything
you you
fast. Yeah.
you are making, sorry madam, we are passing around your podcast because the center it was you.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Tobe today is all open. I don't know what is happening with Tobe.
No,
But we have you are working weight pool there. But since the beginning of 2000 in Portugal, for example, we were one of the pioneers making what we call at the time the gameness sports.
Mm-hmm.
So we made competitions, year competitions with one limb, with the fast cat. Today, you give a name fast cat. At the moment, it was speed, 100-meter speed. The long jump, the record, for example, it was 10 meters, where the dog takes balance a few meters, and after he touches a table and he flies in the air 10 meters. And it was the way, because we are against the fights, we are not apologists of fights, but it was the way to find the gameness, that stamina, that athleticity, that dexterity, the agility, all the dog this breed can give to us. And it was the way we find it, and we invented the gameness. Today there are several countries. For example, in Sweden they made the weight pool. In Brazil they made a lot long limb. But that we was one of the first ones making like dog Olympiads of dogs, and we still have that competition here today, where everything is included at the same time, where we can test the dogs without fighting them, without putting them fight.
Diving? Have you done diving in your countries?
Yes.
no. Yeah.
Upstairs,
Okay.
I don't know, but I made that. And I try when I was in Sweden, I tried to make the fast cat for the first time with my dogs, and I was amazed because the greyhounds, they made the 100 meters with a little difference of seconds of my dogs, and I was very happy because it was the first time. They were still young, and the difference for the greyhounds, it was minimum, almost nothing, and trained greyhounds. So we test them one time, and each time I arrive to test them, if it is I have a friend that hunted wild boars, and when I'm on the region, I go with them and try them hunting the wild boar to see how they behave in a pack of 80 dogs, how they behave when there are a wild boar in front. Is that kind of tests I made to find that temperament, the elders search for fighting dogs.
Yeah. There are a lot of ways to test some of the traits that came from dog fighting, but not complete. And it's I'm against dog fighting as well, but it's the dog fighting that made the dogs that we love, and we need to honor that history in some capacity. Yeah.
And
We're kind of away from Peggy a bit here, I think. Peggy, how many how many dogs do you have at home at the moment?
Currently, I have 5. I have one male, and the rest are females.
Yeah.
2 of the females have been spayed. The 2 I got from Roberto are spayed now, and Aria is 4 years old now, and my youngest Nikki is 10 months.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
And all bred by you. Yeah.
Well, except I would have to say that Dorothy and Peggy were bred by Roberto.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, but when time was those Dorothy and Peggy bred? When he saved
They're going
the
to be 8
line?
years old
Oh,
this year. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
8 years. So I
So
think that was
8
the
years,
one we did.
8 years more 15 makes the program with 23 years old.
Yeah.
Say that again.
You, they have 8 years old, and the program of Roberto, it was 15 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
that makes it's a program from the beginning of this century. It started in 2001, I think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And which are your provisions to next? You said you're going to try to breed Bruce because
Yeah.
Bob didn't took. What
When
you have in mind to net in the future?
Yeah, when Aria comes into season, which will probably be less than 6 months now, my plan is to breed her to Bruce's frozen semen. And he thaws at about 80 some percent. So if I can catch her at the right time, we should have a successful breeding.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
I profit to put you a question. Why you choose that male from the last litter that Barry card, around card have one beach? Why you choose that specific Tacoma boy?
Oh, the last breeding?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do a test breeding. Barbara Hamilton froze Captain Jingles' semen, Barway Captain Jingles.
Okay.
Nobody ever believed her, but she actually did. Now, it's unfortunate. I did a breeding of my boy Trouble to one of her bitches, and I said, I don't want a puppy from this litter, but I do want a captain puppy. Well, unfortunately, Barbara passed away. Her daughter Holly took over their kennel, captain's quarters. They have a boarding kennel. Well, Holly passed away about a year ago. And I was promised captain's semen at one last breeding. But unfortunately, I cannot get in touch with the daughters. I have tried every way I can think of contacting them, and no communication. So the idea was I would do the test breeding, and then I would go to captain's semen. But I can't get that breeding.
Okay.
I'm praying that somehow, some way, I'll be able to get in touch with them and make contact and do that. But in the meantime, I thought, well, I know she's fertile because she had 9 puppies right out of the gate, as they say. So I thought, well, I've got Bruce's semen, and I would kill for a Bruce puppy. So I decided I'm going to use his semen next.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I've started breeding, or not breeding, freezing semen on all my males.
Yeah.
So that I've got Bravo, Aria's brother. I've got him frozen. I've got more on Bruce. Cynthia Schmidt is going to take a breeding from Bruce. And we've discussed it. And so I just have to follow through and make sure she gets it. I have a breeding going to New Zealand, hopefully. That's in the works as well on Bravo. And let me see, I have Trouble frozen. I think that's it right now, because I've been using some up as I go along. But so I thought, well, I can't really continue creating litters of puppies, but what I can do is freeze the semen on the boys I have, and maybe help other people who are interested in continuing with X-pert by providing them with the sperm, the semen that they need. And maybe, I don't know, it's like, it almost seems futile in trying to continue a bloodline that nobody in the United States cares about.
It's not well known either. And for example, you are talking in Cynthia. I follow her since her beginnings, and she's making a nice job. Not she didn't made a lot of breedings. She made 2, I think, but she keep what was available in Europe at the time with the foundation of Roberto. But she's making an amazing job with working her dogs. And I know maybe you were talking about another one that goes to New Zealand. I am almost sure it's for a guy, and I think that guy have good intentions also. And I hope, really hope, as a passionate for this breed, that those people made something, because one day my dream is to have the three. I already have the highest of the coma you can have. I already have the old Ruffian, and my dream is to have one day the expert, to have the three available bloods at home, and preserve that patrimony we still have available. And it's nice to hear you are in contact with those people, and you're going to go further in this work of selection. It's nice to hear that.
I'm happy to help people where I can, especially if they have an interest in preserving the breed. Um, that's so important to me. So, like I said, I've decided I'm just freezing my boys and providing it where it's wanted, and that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many years do you think you will still be going on as a breeder?
I should have stopped years ago, but I can't seem to make myself stop.
No.
So I'm definitely going to do the breeding with Aria. If
Yeah.
if I pray hard enough, maybe we'll be able to work things out so that I get Captain Jingle's semen and I could do a breeding with him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Nikki is only 10 months now, so I've got time, but my thought is to breed her to Bravo. Um, so that would bring, he's already at 30% COI. So that, like I said, a breeding within the line, she's half expert, but also half Tacoma and White Rock. And I think that would be a good outcross within the line, so to speak. So that's a plan. I generally plan my breedings generations in advance. And I think I needed to do that in order to continue the line, because I was really only had myself to depend on. So, and now, with the beers having passed away, there's not that source any longer. Um, I mean, there is always Chris Morrison, who has the Rolls branch of the expert line. So, I would do what I could to help her along the line too. But there's not a lot of people in this country that care about line breeding on an old school dog. They, as you were talking about earlier, they breed to win. I think that's the way to say it. They breed to win. Whereas my idea was to preserve the line. And I mean, I love to win. That's great, but my main goal is to preserve the line.
Yeah.
And the Captain Jenkins, it's from which year, madam? Because that is really old to have a frozen semen on them. That is new for me, and I'm amazed that there are still frozen semen on him.
Apparently, there's one breeding left. I had asked Holly to. It's unfortunate. Both Barbara and her daughter Holly passed away due to cancer. And when I last spoke to Holly, she said, I'll put it in my will. Well, I know how that works. I said, just send it to my repro vet. And she says, no, I'll put it in my will, and I know she talked to her daughters about it, because she told me that they have young families. They didn't want to take a puppy from the breeding and so on, but I can't get in touch with the daughters. I've tried, but I don't have home phone numbers or anything like that. So I don't know how I can do it.
Oh.
And Captain Jenkins, he comes from which year? Because it's an old dog.
It's very old. I would say, I don't know, 45, 50 years ago, she may have collected him.
Okay. So that is really interesting to know there are still, it's like the gallant. I know where are the semen of gallant still available. And again, there are old families involved in this and that. Maybe we're going to lost it, but it's interesting to know now there are Captain Jingles, the famous Captain Jingles.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know which dog is that, but you can research after I send you the pedigree. And it's an amazing dog with an amazing pedigree at the time. And it's really old. It's amazing to have semen, frozen semen on him.
Who Barry spoke to frequently. But that's where Captain Jingles came from. So when Barbara said she collected him, none of us believed her because that back in those days, people didn't freeze semen, and we thought, no, you don't have it. Well, it turns out she did have it.
Yeah.
And she arrived. Okay, nice to know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the whole idea of why I wanted to do the test breeding. And I represent my kennel club as an AKC delegate. We have quarterly meetings, and there are things that delegates discuss, and in regard to changing of the rules and things of that nature, all kinds of things. Anyway, Holly Johnson is also a delegate, and I was telling her that I wanted to do a test breeding, and she offered this dog that she had bred for me to do a test breeding with, and that's how that happened.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. How many other breeders are there around the world that are interested in preserving the expert line? Is it
Not
only
many.
you or no?
It's pretty much me.
Yeah.
Now there are Cynthia. In X-pert, there are 3 or 4 persons already. Roberto made his job already. Don't want to come back.
Exactly.
But overall, sorry to interrupt you, madam. But overall, it's a really short amount of people that want to preserve these old dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't even know how it happened, but ruffian dogs became very, very popular, and that's pretty much what predominated the Amstaff world is that bloodline. So the rest of us are struggling along on our own, pretty much. Like I said, there's more interest in the European countries in preserving old bloodlines than there is in the United States.
Yeah.
In the end, we have made a better job than you because we have more heritage on the old bloodlines than your own there in USA. We have more genetic pool. We have more amount of dogs, a more amount of Siemens.
Yeah.
In the end, that is nice because the struggle, what we struggle is to the distance, to send puppies, to receive Siemens. I'm in contact with Lisa Kasich, for example. She have some Siemens available and she want to keep it, but it's all a bureaucracy to bring them from USA and everything, and it's that the problem. It's not only a few people that preserve this, but also after it's all logistic, all financial investment, everything to follow this hobby, this expensive hobby. We have it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's tough. Great. We are running out of time. And we've been talking about a lot of other stuff than you, Peggy, but I think we got enough out of you at the moment. And it's been very, very interesting. I'm amazed about the historical stuff you had. It's it truly belongs in a museum. Yeah.
So
I hope you write a book one of these days.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. I keep once in a while I take a stab at it, and pull some pictures and try to organize things, but it's going to take some time doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
do it.
when you have that much to go through, it's going to be a lot of books, I think, if you get the time to put it together. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm gonna have to learn how to put it together.
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing also. Yeah.
Yeah, and thing for me is that if you have an Amstaff in Sweden, and you don't listen to you, Peggy, or listen to Mr. Card, so on. Yeah, that's pure fucking stupidity. Because I'm not in the breed, but I like the breed. I love the breed, and I like the type of dogs you breed. So this we need a part two. Yeah,
Yeah.
we really do. And this historical aspect is, since we started podcast of Waitful and nothing was documented, and we tried to help the sport, which is very, very small. It's about as small as breeding old style American Amstaffs. Yeah. So,
It,
yeah.
uh,
So
Tobe,
thank you, Peggy.
Tobe, and it's not only a question of the old Amstaff or this or that. It's if you want to run in Formula One, you have to have a Formula One car. If you want to run in rally, you have to have a rally car. So you are a podcast centered in weight pool. But if you want to win in weight pool, you have to have a dog with that stamina, with that
Exactly.
temperament to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really true, Felipe. Yeah, awesome. We can't go on, Tobe. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. So so the recording doesn't just stop. We've been through that before. So I really want to thank you, Peggy, for your time, and learn a lot. And it's been a privilege to talk to you.
Oh, well, it's been my privilege to share this time with you gentlemen as well, and really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. You were a little bit nervous since
Oh, I was
before.
a nervous wreck. But you
I
know what?
told you,
Just talking
everything
dogs
going to be,
stop us, can you?
Yeah.
everything going to be fine. And you see, we have passed a good moment. 2 hours has passed, and we have passed a good moment, I think. And thanks also from my part.
Oh,
And
you're welcome.
Like I said, part two is a must.
Yeah.
Really a privilege, Peggy. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, everybody. And take care.
Have a great
Thank
Easter,
you.
everybody.
Yeah. Happy Easter. Yeah.
Happy
Awesome.
Easter.
God bless you, Tobe.
Great.
Good night,
Thanks.
gentlemen.
Good night.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.